Everybody, welcome to What to Watch with Your Popcorn. I'm Rob.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're going to be looking at Sin City, which was co-directed by Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller, who created the graphic novel series of Sin City. And this kind of ties in with the movie Machete that came out a couple of weeks ago. So in case you didn't know, Sin City is a movie that's kind of like an anthology of 4 overlapping stories with some characters appearing in some of them. The name of the city that it takes place in is called Beeson City. This was to me, I thought this movie had what I liked about it was it had like a 1940s film noir feel to it, from the various characters' monologues. There were complex plots and characters, and of course the score kind of reminded me of those 1940s film noirs like Maltese Falcon and all that.
Yeah, and I also like that this movie had like every single actor in this movie was a big name actor. I mean, you had Brittany Murphy in here, Bruce Willis, Elijah Wood, and so many others.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a nice all-star cast here, but personally, I don't think you necessarily have to have big-name actors to get a movie to work, because sometimes in some all-star cast, this was a point I made in my Machete review, sometimes with all-star cast pictures, one's going to try and outdo each other, but I think why it worked here was that the movie was shot on green screen with sunsets and backgrounds added in later, and I found out that some actors that shared scenes in this movie didn't appear together as their stuff was being shot. For example, Mickey Rourke and Elijah Wood, they share a story together and some scenes together, but they actually hadn't met until the movie came out a little bit later, so that was definitely interesting.
Yeah, I like how it's animated and like real life at the same time, and they can make like real people look animated and all that, because it looks like just like a giant moving comic book is what it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were trying to be faithful to the graphic novel. I mean, I've never read the graphic novel, but it does look like a graphic novel come to life. I don't think the actors to me didn't look computer generated. Some of the backgrounds did, and the snow falling, that kind of looked computer generated. And getting back to the actors being edited now this may be me, but some actors were added in later, and it was kind of obvious to me and a little bit distracting. I mean, because I went to a school and I studied broadcasting, and I learned a little bit about green screen, and I've seen some documentaries about green screen. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was more obvious about who was added in later and who was there in some shots. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a problem with everybody, but to me it was kind of obvious in some cases.
To me, I couldn't tell that because I've never had experience with green screen, so
yeah,
I thought everybody was like in the same shot together.
Yeah, because I like getting to the actors. You kind of touched up on that. Let's see. There's a good cast. Like there's Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, and Benicio del Toro as Jackie Boy, and Clive Owen. Clive Owen, I kind of thought he was just a little bit stiff in my opinion, and I kind of felt that Alexis Bledel was miscasted as a prostitute. But out of the whole movie, my favorite story has to be the one with Mickey Rourke as Marv, which was the second story. I thought out of the whole cast, I think he had the best monologue.
Yeah.
He did a very good job at making me believe the character's motive. I mean, he is going out for revenge for the murder of a prostitute that he seemed to have the best relationship with, and I felt he made it very believable, and that he really wanted to go out and get revenge.
Yeah, I agree. That was my favorite too, because it was he doesn't really know where he's going, but he figures that he's gonna find her killer, but he doesn't really know who it's gonna be.
Yeah. And I like that Marv kind of had a hard time telling the difference between what was real and what was, in his head. I mean, sometimes when I was watching this movie, I kind of had to try hard to figure that out as well.
Yeah.
The story that I did not like that much was the third story involving the prostitutes, because I'm sure this was in the graphic novel, so I apologize to the aficionados of it, but some characters look like they're getting killed, and there's a few situations where Clive Owen is going up against somebody that's about to kill him, and then out of nowhere, these characters that you believe to be dead somehow comes back to life, and I just thought that was just a little bit too simple, and like they couldn't come up with something better.
Yeah. And they didn't really even care that they were getting killed. I mean, it didn't even look like they really suffered much, and they were just expendable.
Yeah,
it was kind of
Yeah, I mean, this was a very violent and a very weird movie that I think may require multiple viewings to understand more about the characters as well as their thoughts. I like this movie. I didn't love it, but I suppose if I watched it again and again, maybe I'll be able to get into it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I'm sure it has its own like cult following. People that like really read his graphic novels probably really enjoyed it, or people that read like other graphic novels of that same nature probably enjoyed it. But yeah, you gotta like this type of thing to really get into it.
Well, I'm not really a graphic novel reader, but I did enjoy the movie. I mean, I had a mixed reaction to it. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't like, because it's an anthology story. And whenever there's a movie where there's made up of different stories,
Yeah.
like Pulp Fiction, if they're going to be uneven. And besides, this was a point that you brought up when we were coming over here. You said that sometimes characters that reappear in other stories, and some of them you think were dead from early on, like in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was told in chronological order, I think it would have ended up looking like Iron Man 2, where all these subplots keep coming in from
Yeah.
different characters, and it would just get so hard to watch. I like that you just focus on the story. The film focuses on
Right.
the story, and even if there are some characters that the same characters popping in and out of the same stories, it's not too distracting for me.
Right, but if people don't realize that it's like different stories, and they're going to be wondering like, isn't he dead? Isn't she dead already? What's he or she doing back? And
Yeah.
if you don't realize that it's a whole bunch of different stories or whatever.
Well, I mean, when I was watching it, I did figure out that it was an anthology film, so yeah. It's not my favorite Robert Rodriguez film. I like that Frank Miller co-directed it with him and helped him out on it, but I kind of liked Planet of Terror and Machete a little bit more, but I did enjoy Sin City, and I do recommend it with your popcorn.
Yeah, I also recommend it. I enjoyed it. Not as much as you did probably, but I did enjoy it.
Okay, so I guess that's it for what to watch with your popcorn, and of course, leave your comments, and if you've seen City, go ahead and post your thoughts on the movie. So thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time on What to Watch with Your Popcorn.